What are your thoughts on marriage? The negative and the positive thoughts. And are you married?
Well, I don't think it's a good idea to involve the state in your marriage because certain states, the laws are so slanted and unfair to the man that it's not worth it. If you are going to get married, it should be some kind of a civil ceremony, and you can have an attorney that's licensed to practice law in your city, your state, your country, because the laws, I deal with people globally, draw up a some kind of like a partnership agreement or a business agreement or an LLC or something that you can keep any assets, marital assets in for stuff you buy or businesses you start, things of that nature. Plus, you can put together an agreement on like how are you going to care for kids if you guys have kids and then choose not to stay together. Because that's interesting. I was talking to a client the other night, and he's a high level executive in a tech firm, makes a lot of money, and it took him 4 months to negotiate his prenup with his fiance, and it was not a pleasant thing. But what I was telling him, in the beginning is like, this is a good exercise for you, because if you can negotiate a prenuptial agreement with your fiance and continue on and have her not like hate you or whatever, then that's good for you. That's good for your negotiating skills, and it'll help you in business. Because if you can negotiate a prenup with your fiance, who at the time when we first started talking about it she had completely different views on marriage and marital assets and all that stuff, and so that's why it took him 4 months to kind of bring her over to kind of see his side of things, and they eventually worked it out. So those things can be difficult. But involving the state in your marriage, it's just the laws. And then trying to get out of those, it's so unpleasant. All you really end up doing is making the attorneys rich. Your attorney and her attorney are the ones that kill it in the divorce. And whatever's left, the two of you get. I talked to a guy, a few months ago, a client, and he'd been with his wife, I think it was 25 years, and they built a really big business, and they raised kids, had great kids, and they ended up getting a divorce. And even though he had a prenuptial agreement, she fought it. And basically their resolution is that he had to sell all of his assets that he had to basically give her a check. And so this guy spent his life building his business that he was building before he even knew or met her. And the only way he could get divorced, and even though he had a prenup agreement, because she got an attorney that fought it because they had significant assets in the millions, he had to fucking sell everything and start all over. And he's older at this point in his life. This guy's in his late 60s, and so it's like the money that he's got, he no longer has a business because she forced him to sell everything, and so she could get her, a check. And it's like, now he's in his late 60s, and he's in a new relationship, and he's got a certain amount of money that he's going to live off of, because he was planning on keeping, because the business he had was like a good residual income kind of business, and he was set for life. And now he gets a divorce, and so now he's getting back into that particular business, and it takes years to build these assets that become income producing assets. And it's like, you feel for a guy like that, it's like his whole life's work basically has to take a match to it so he can pay his wife off because she challenged the prenuptial agreement that they had. And he thought he had an ironclad one, but apparently not, and it was a red state that they were in too. So that didn't work out too well for him. He got kind of a bum deal because he was the one that built the company. She didn't fucking build it. She did raise the kids, but the way the laws are is everything goes right down the middle, and she still got even some of what he had built before they were together. Just because I don't know we didn't really get into the particulars of the prenup, but that was really disappointing to him that she was able to successfully challenge it and it was an ordeal. It took many, many, many years and a lot of fucking money in attorney's fees. You know, because the attorneys got
Yeah.
a big chunk of his money, and
They like to drag it out.
yeah, so he made the two attorneys rich. He made his ex-wife rich, and he basically got a fraction of, you know, what his stuff was really worth because he had to sell it, and because she wanted her check. And, you know, you hate to see stuff like that. You know, to see a guy spend his whole life and now he's older. It's not like he's a spring chicken anymore, and he's got, you know, another 30, 40 years to build a company back to the level that he had before. So I don't think, in my opinion, building or involving the state in your relationship with a marriage there's so much downside risk. And so if you can avoid it, definitely avoid doing that. And no, I got married once in my 20s. I've come close three times, like pretty that close to getting married again, and it didn't feel right, and I didn't do it. And I don't have any regrets. Do I ever see myself getting married and involved in the state? Probably not, but I don't know, maybe if I had kids or a family, we'll see. I'm not dead yet. I'm still here. I still got time.
No regrets.
No regrets.
What are your positive thoughts on marriage?
Well, it's good for raising kids, especially if the two people in marriage have the same goals and the same values, and because the real reason to get married together is because you want to have a family and you want to have kids, and the kids, quite frankly, really need to see mom and dad together and loving one another, not fucking trying to destroy each other in a divorce, because that's not good for anybody. But I mean, that's what happens. And you look at the extreme case, like what's his name, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. I mean, they split up a decade ago, and the kids were all small. And I think all of them now are
They're
adults, and yet he and his ex-wife are still fighting over. I think it's a wine vineyard or something like that they have, a wine company or wine vineyard. Some of the businesses they have, so they're still not officially divorced. And you look at something like that, and you go, God, it's like, why would you want to go through that? And so something like that, and two rich and powerful people like that, probably should have never involved the state if they're going to start businesses together, because she was rich before she met him. He was rich before he met her. So they could have formed, if they were going to build businesses together, they could have developed a partnership agreement. If you can't come to an agreement on what the partners are going to bring to the table, well, then you don't do the partnership. So I'm just, I'm not a fan. I mean, I think it's great what the Arabs have. If you're Muslim, you have what's called triple talaq. I think that's how you pronounce it, triple talaq divorce, where you basically say, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. And you're done. You're out.
Seems pretty legit.
So, and the men have all of the leverage. So from
think
that
that just gives
perspective,
people
it's
the
like,
easy
I have a
out.
lot of Muslim clients, Granted, that's not every Arab nation that's like that, but, they do have something in Islam called triple talaq divorce. And that's just basically the husband can say, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. And the wife, I think, can say it too. She can be like, I'm out. And he's like, all right, pack your shit and go. And she leaves with whatever she can fit in her suitcase, and that's it.
And she's like,